Lord is our shepherd, right? And then last week, we took a look at the fact that we should not, as we follow our shepherd, we will not want. Because our shepherd knows what we need better than we know ourselves. And he'll take care of those things that we actually have needs, the things that are missing in our life. We talked about that void that is there in every person's heart without that intimate relationship with their Creator, right? And then today, what we look at is we move on to the next part, which is going to come up right here. It's time to lie down. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes throughout the week, we get tired, right? Life's schedule makes us tired. We live in a world right now that seems to be faster paced than ever. Isn't it true? I remember several years ago, many years ago, I don't know if it's still that way, 30-something years ago now. And when Val and I were at Santa Clarita Baptist Church, we took a youth group up to Tacoma, Washington. And when we went up to Tacoma, Washington, again, I don't know if it's that way now, it's been a long time, but we noticed something totally different from Southern California, which, by the way, when we said we were from California, they weren't happy about that. Everything was slower. It was just slower. People took their time, didn't seem to be in any hurry to get anywhere. And I thought, man, speed it up. What is going on? How can you be so slow with everything? It was just a different pace. We've gone to some other places. We went and visited South Dakota. That was like a whole different world in South Dakota. And there's different places around the country. But I know here in Southern California, it's pretty fast-paced. And everywhere you go, there seems to be people. In fact, just yesterday afternoon, I needed to go somewhere. It's Saturday afternoon, leaving West Covina, and Saturday afternoon to get on the 10 freeway. This is Saturday afternoon. It's not rush hour. It's not anything like that. And sure enough, the freeway is jammed up with cars. It's like, doesn't it ever stop? And we get tired trying to deal with stresses and things that we're trying to figure out, and on and on and on and on. And at the end of a full day, which many of you have full days sometimes, we think to ourselves, have you ever thought this? I just wish I could just lie down. Just lie down and get some rest. But for many people, even when that time comes, and the day is finally over, and that moment has arrived when you're finally able to lie down and hit the pillow and get some rest, unfortunately, it seems that for many, there's still not a good rest. What do we have more and more today on the market? Sleep aids, melatonin, sleep gummies, magnesium for a night, whatever. There's all the different solutions. I tell you, as a kid, I don't remember having to worry about that. I mean, kids, they never want to go to bed, right? You tell them it's time to go to sleep, and they go, I'm not tired, right? But as soon as they actually hit the pillow, it seems they actually will slow down enough after exerting all that energy. 5 minutes later, they're out cold. How come, as we get older, we're so tired and we've expended so much energy, and yet when we hit the pillow, our mind and everything is still going, and we can't relax? I love this because let's see what the verse actually says. Let's move on. He makes me lie down in green pastures. I want to focus in on this. That not only does he help us to lie down in green pastures, but it says he makes me lie down in green pastures. You know, even God himself, in the creation account, we see days 1 through 6, he was pretty amazingly active, wasn't he? I mean, he created out of nothing. He created the heavens and the earth, and then he created the animals and the seas and the mountains and everything that we see around us. And he created them all, and he created man in his own image, male and female. He created them, and on it goes. And he took a look around, and he said, and he saw everything that he made, and he saw that it was good. And on the seventh day, what did he make? Nothing. It says he rested. Even God rested. The God who created everything and the God that created us is also a God who not only rested himself, but knows that we need it and gives us rest. He makes us to lie down in green pastures. Let's show a little image here. Green pastures. Doesn't that look relaxing? I saw that picture and I thought, now that looks peaceful. You might look at that and say, where is that? I want to find that place right there. I mean, you're just out there and look at all the stars. We don't see those here in Southern California too often, do we? They're up there. But look at that beautiful sky and just out there in the lush green pasture. The person just looks so relaxed, so in comfort. When's the last time you felt like that? God wants to give us this kind of comfort. It's not necessarily the scene. It's the comfort that he can bring to us. So let's move on here. How do we experience that lying down in green pastures? Well, first of all, it's green, and that's one thing that's really cool. I know, how many of you have been out to Victory Ranch for like retreats, different things like that? Raise your hand, a lot of you. So Victory Ranch, they have what they call the field. There's a softball backstop there, and that's the field. They do a lot of the games out there and all of this. And depending on what time of year you go, it's not as bad now as it used to be because they've done different things. But sometimes it's green, okay? And the grass is green out there and everything, and that's good. A lot of times it's kind of in the middle. But I can remember many years when we went out there, and it was never green unless they had a lot of rain because they wouldn't water it very much. And so you go out there, and it was brown grass, hard and dry. I tell you, nobody wants to lie down in that, right? But when you get a nice, lush green field like we saw in the previous slide here, that's nice and comfortable. But it seems and it feels quite often that that's not how life seems to be for us. So how do we get that to change? And the first thing we're going to look at this morning is the first key to finding this comfort of lying down and finding this rest in green pastures is trusting the shepherd. What does the Bible tell us? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says what? Trust in the Lord with what? All your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. How much do we trust him this morning? There's different areas on which we can trust, right? So, for example, God calls us to take steps of faith, but we don't know how it's going to work out, and we don't see it all mapped, and yet he says, go ahead and take a step in this direction. Do we trust him? Maybe our bank account is running on empty. It's almost as bad as our gas tank, which seems to get there very quickly as well, right? And what does he say when we don't know how to figure it out? And he's telling us to take some financial steps, maybe even giving, maybe even, giving of our resources to him. He asks, do we trust him? Over and over again in different areas of our life, health challenges, job situations, uncertainties. Are we trusting him? Let's look at some verses this morning when it comes to this. Ezekiel 34, verses 15 and 16. What it says about our shepherd here. I myself will tend my sheep and give them a place to lie down in peace, says the sovereign Lord. I love this. This goes right along with what it tells us here in Psalm 23 too, right? What does the shepherd say? He says, I'm going to tend them and I'm going to give them a place to lie down, and not just lie down, but lie down in peace. Right? And often we don't seem to have that peace. We're tossing and turning with a lot of stuff going on. I know that another thing in sleep, it seems, that we're thinking often, well, maybe it's the pillow. Right? How many of you have tried different pillows so that you can sleep better? I mean, let's raise our hand and admit it. I've tried several. For a while, we had one of those My Pillows that are supposed to be the most comfortable pillow you've ever owned. It wasn't. Maybe it works for you. It wasn't for me. I tried fluffing it. I tried sticking it in the dryer and reviving it. I tried all the different stuff and just didn't seem to work. Then there's those memory foam pillows that I guess are supposed to memorize the shape of your body. Well, half of us, like myself, the shape of my body is deformed anyway, so I don't know that that's the best thing. So that doesn't seem to work either. Then we went to this hotel. I forget which hotel it was. And the pillows in this hotel, very rarely does this happen. The pillows in this particular hotel were amazing. So amazing that we were tempted to stuff them in our suitcase, but that would have been wrong. Plus, they charge you now if stuff comes up missing. So then Val had this idea. She thought they was amazing, so she looked them up on, of course, Amazon. She put up the name of the hotel and the pillow and found them. So then she ordered those pillows. Those are pretty good. Then recently we were told about this other pillow that Jay Jr. found. And the only problem is it's just not kind of big enough, so you have to keep moving it as you turn. But that one's worked pretty well. But still, it seems that despite all of that, we still don't get that peaceful sleep. And you know you're not getting a peaceful sleep and a peaceful rest because every time you toss and turn and you wake up, there's something on your mind. Every time you wake up, you're thinking about whatever this is, this stress. It's something the next day, something that you carried. In fact, they even tell you, isn't this true? Be careful what you view or what you think about before you go to sleep, because then you'll end up dreaming about it. Right? So if you want to dream good things, focus on good things. That's why it's good to end your time in the day. Have the Lord put you to sleep. Maybe be praying in bed or doing whatever you're doing and all that and do this because he'll give us peace. Okay? He's the one that provides that for us. Let's look at another verse here. Ezekiel 34, verses 15 and 16. He says, I will search for my lost ones who strayed away, and I will bring them safely home again. I will bandage the injured and strengthen the weak, but I will destroy those who are fat and powerful. I will feed them, yes, feed them justice. So as we're dealing with the things that we're dealing with in life, instead of trying to carry these things on our own, what we want to be doing is going to our shepherd. It's him that we can trust. It's him that's going to bring us to safety. It's him who's going to protect us. It's him who's going to help us with those situations that we can't figure out and they're causing us to to struggle. The next area we're going to look at this morning is, in order to have that restful green pastures, we need to feed. In the green pasture, that's what happens, right? Animals, sheep and everything, will graze in green pastures. We need to feed on His Word. This is so important. This is so very, very important. Now, all of us have been told this before. I've been hearing this since the moment that I came into this place in 1991. The pastor that was here at the time we came in, I was serving as an assistant. And this is what he always, this is one of his things he always harped on. You got to get in the Word. You got to get in the Word. You got to get in the Word. And what believer disagrees with that? We don't. Of course you got to get in the Word. But how much do we get in the Word? That's the real question. What is getting in the Word? To a lot of people, getting in the Word is, well, I'll try to be there on Sunday so that I hear the Word. Maybe I'll listen to a couple things on the radio. Maybe I'll do one of those cutesy little plans, which are good. Make sure I get in the Word. Look at a little short little thing for 10 minutes a day. Make sure I try to remember to do that each day. It's getting in the Word. But you know what? The more we get in the Word, when we really understand the power of it, and the more we take it in, the more peace, the more comfort, the more transformation, the more things start to change. Often we look at getting in the Word as a box to check. Oh, got in the Word today. Check. Now let me do everything else. No, it should be the box to check. The more we get in it, the more things change. The more clarity we get, the more peace we get, the more God starts showing us stuff, the more vision of His vision He starts giving us for life, the more optimism He starts doing. The smaller problems start to look because He starts to look bigger. The more we get in His Word, the more it changes. I've seen this a lot myself in just the last few months. Doing some different things and hearing and reflecting and having the Word, even though, I've studied the Word for years, just much and much more. And wow, does it make a huge, huge difference. Huge. Let's look at a couple passages with this. Hebrews 4:12. The Word of God, it's alive. And it's powerful. Okay, it's a living Word. I don't know about you, but there's been so many times where I open it up or I hear it and it just seems to just come alive right off the page or right off the screen. There's that moment that you're going through something and all of a sudden there's that exact thing where the Word is speaking about it. It's alive and it is powerful. We're talking a power that is extreme. A power that the Bible tells us is stronger than dynamite. In fact, the human English word we get for dynamite comes from this Greek word of dunamis. It is powerful. It's sharp. In fact, it's sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword. I know that some of us get impressed at times with demonstrations of knives, right? Somebody will have some fancy knife set, and they'll come along. Maybe it's Cutco or something like that, and they'll come along and they'll show you how sharp this particular knife is. But this, the Word of God, it is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword. It'll cut between soul and spirit, between joint and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires. You want to understand yourself? You want to know why you think the things you do? You want to know why you fear what you do? You want to know why you don't do the things that you know you should? And you do the things that you know you shouldn't? You want to figure out what's going on with you? A lot of people will go, oh, let me find, a counselor, or let me go here and all that. And that's fine, well, and good if they're using the Word. Nothing will reveal more to you about yourself than the Word. And nothing will reveal more about the will of God in your life and why you're even here than the Word. You want answers to these questions, there's the source. There is the source. So the more I take in of the Word, you can't get too much of this. Now, we can eat too much. Right? We all know that. I've done it many a time. We can even drink too much, even something harmless like water. You can kind of drink and drink and drink so much that you can't even drink anymore. But I will tell you this, you cannot overdo it. There's no worry. You cannot overdo it when it comes to the Word. You can't. The more you get, the better off you'll be. Let's look at one other passage here. Colossians 3:16. Let the message about Christ in all its richness fill your lives. The message about Christ, it's rich. Now, what do we mean when we say something is rich? So, for example, the other night, we got invited to a dinner. And so we went to this dinner. It was somewhere in Pasadena. You remember the name of that restaurant? It was Argentinian food. It was very good. It was very good, especially since we didn't pay for it. That made it so much. Have you ever, it tastes so much better. In fact, the menu came, and we knew we weren't paying for it. It was a group of people. The menu came, and we're starting to look at the menu. I like to be polite. So there's always like, what do you want to order, and what are you going to order? They're not always the same. Because after all, we weren't paying for it. So what I wanted to order was all this like steak and all this kind of stuff that was over there, up in the upper right-hand corner of the menu. But that was like really like more expensive than some of the other stuff. So I started looking to the chicken over here and all of that because I thought, I can't order that. But then the people that were paying for it, they said, hey, so do you guys want to order your own thing? Or the last time we were here, we just ordered a bunch of everything and did family style and passed it around the table. So we're like, oh, okay. So they ordered all the steak, all the stuff, everything. I mean, it was really good. Okay, but they said, but the one thing we're not sharing, and this is what we shouldn't have had, the one thing we're not sharing is dessert. You get to order your own dessert. So the desserts came. And I tried to be somewhat good because I've been trying to watch myself. But I started looking around the table and seeing some of the other things that were ordered. And there's those chocolate type of desserts that come. A lot of you have had those. A lot of you wish you had one right now. And sometimes you look at something that looks so good, and you're thinking, wow, I could eat like a huge one. But then it's so rich that it's just like one bite is just amazing, but it's rich, right? That's how the message about Christ and the Word of God is. It's really powerful. It's rich. Even just every bite has a major, major richness. There's nothing weak about it. Okay? He says here, hey, unlike that dessert, which you probably should watch in moderation because of the calories and the sugar and all that kind of stuff, in this case, in this richness, let it fill your lives. Just let it fill. Just take it in. And then as you do, teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom that he gives you. You see, that's what we're supposed to do with it. Not only is it supposed to change your life, but then you know how to help others as well who are going through some of the same things. That's why in Psalm 1 it tells us, blessed is the man who doesn't walk in the counsel of the ungodly. Whose counsel should they be walking in? The godly. I mean, obviously we're going to receive counsel and advice from people, but where should we be getting it? Consider the source. I want to get it from people who understand God, believe in God, and are trying to hold up his word and live according to the word. So you become also that person that we get to help each other. And sometimes it goes back and forth. So one day your spouse or your friend or your sibling or whoever it is, your fellow believer in Christ, one day they may be struggling and you're able to come there and encourage them with the word and you're able to get them right on the back track. And you know what? 2 weeks later, it might be reversed. Maybe now you're the one having an issue. And you're the one having a little trust issue or you're down a little bit with something that's going on, and then they'll pick you up. The Bible tells us we bear each other's burdens and we pick each other up. And the Bible tells us that like iron sharpens iron, right? We need to have the richness and fullness of the word in our lives so that we can be able to teach and counsel each other with wisdom that he gives us. And as we do this, then everything that we start doing, notice here that even the worship, sing what? What are we supposed to sing? Psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. That tells us something about music too. Let's talk about it. I didn't plan to talk on this, but it's here. Quit listening to trash. Quit listening to trash. I'm serious. It makes a difference. What are we listening to? This was one of my pet peeves that was ingrained into me when I was a young believer. And I've backed off of it quite a bit through the years. Not necessarily personally, but in harping on it. But I do want to say it here. A lot of believers listen to garbage. And you say, but I like that kind of music. There are good God-honoring songs in every genre of music you'd want to pick today. Name it, they're there. Every genre. You like rap? They've got it. Okay, now some people, the old-fashioned people will go, oh no, rap, that's not Christian music. It is, it's the words, it's the content. What's the content? They've got it. It's out there. It's not my personal preference, but if you like it, it's there. With some good stuff. You like country? I do at times. Trust me, there's plenty of it out there. With the good message that's out there. You like, pop? You like rhythm and blues? You like whatever it is. It's out there. There's plenty of it. Now, I'm not saying you can never listen to anything else again. But what are we listening to? What are we taking in all the time? Think about it. We're told here that what we should be focusing on, because music is extremely powerful. God created it. And he loves music. And it's a great way to reflect in. And the thing about music is that we just kind of take it in a very relaxing way. And often we don't filter it. So things that are coming in there and thoughts that are coming in there and the words that are coming in there, maybe you would go and say that, or someone that would say that to you and you'd be all offended. But when it's put to a music and a melody, we're not as offended as much. So we have to really be careful. I mean, there are things that people sing, and yet if you went in to pick up somebody's daughter and said that in the house, the parents would throw you out. So you've got to, consider how music changes things. What are we taking in, and what are we reflecting, and what are we singing? Psalms, hymns, spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts. This is huge. And it should be a regular part of your life. You say, well, I don't know where to find that. We'll tell you afterwards. There's artists you can look up. There's YouTube. There's Christian music stations. In fact, K-Love, which is one of those, right now during January, I didn't do this because I like other stuff I like to listen to. It's still all Christian music. But they have right now, I think in January, they did the 30-day challenge, where their thought was, now you could say it's self-serving, but they wanted you to listen to nothing but K-Love for 30 days. Now, why would they do that? Well, of course, they want you to listen to them. That's the main reason. But the other reason why it is fitting is because if you're just listening to that, you're not going to be listening to garbage. And what they're basically saying is detox your mind for 30 days and just put in stuff that's God-honoring for 30 days. Not a bad idea. In fact, why not continue more than 30 days? It's right here in the Word. Let's go to the next thing. And so I want to illustrate this point. So for those of you who like to work out, which I know we're in a workout crowd right now, right? They tell you about nutrition. And they tell you, for example, if you want to build muscle, if you want to, not spike your insulin levels up, and you want to actually burn fat and everything, focus on what? Protein. Focus on protein. Get a lot of protein. In fact, somebody my size, technically, if I wanted to build muscle and everything, I should be taking in at least like 250 grams of protein a day. And in our modern day diets and foods that are out there, that's not always easy because it's a bunch of carbs and a bunch of sugar and all that kind of stuff. So you got to watch it. But the more protein, the better. Well, same thing. Protein for the body, the Word for the soul. The more of the Word, the better. All right, last one. The last one. Be still. When we lie down in green pastures, we are told to find stillness. Stillness. Let's look at a couple of verses here. Exodus 14:14. Why do we have trouble? Why are we restless at night? Why are we tossing and turning? Because of all the stuff that we're dealing with and we don't know how to fix. Exodus 14:14. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Because he's got it. He's got it. I mean, I think about this whenever I watch a baby. Because a baby, they think the whole world is coming apart. Right? They get so panicked. Because they're hungry and they don't know what to do about it. Because they filled their diaper and they don't know what to do about it. Or because they look around and they don't see anybody. And so they're panicked, and so they're crying, and they're screaming, and all that. And then they see that familiar face, mom, dad, whoever it is, and they find comfort in that and a calmness. In the craziness of your life, understand the Lord himself says, I will fight for you. So just stay calm. And let's bring up the other. I think we have another verse. That was it. Okay. Just stay calm. So reviewing these three things this morning, let's bring them back up again really quickly. The first one, if you were taking some notes, on lying down, the first one that we mentioned, the next thing right here, was we wanted to trust him, right, was the first one. And then the second one, after trusting the shepherd, was feed on his word. And then the last one, of course, I'm giving Val fits back there, trying to get her to move. She's not as familiar with the program, is be still. Those are our three things. So I hope you will remember that as you go through your week. And let's go ahead and have a word of prayer together. Grace.